In this video, we're going to talk trash to treasure containers. This is a great way to reuse a cookie tin. I'm using a pure wet tin for this first project. I like to have these cookies by my coffee pot for guests, but the tin itself is not very attractive. I have a ton of old single pieces of jewelry and bits and bobs that I've collected, and I'm going to use those to decorate the top of this tin. So the first thing I did was clean it off with some alcohol, and then I have some scrapbook paper that I had lying around, so I didn't need to buy anything to do this part. And it's nice because this doesn't really fit all the way around, so the back has a contrasting material on the back, so I used that to cover the gap. And there I'm just showing you that you want to make sure that you make this shorter than that little lip so that the lid will fit on. You don't want the paper to cover that lip. And you can use either a trimmer for scrapbook paper if you're lucky enough to have one of those, or just a pair of scissors. Try to get the line as straight as you can. But you can see here it's a little frayed at the top of mine, and that doesn't really matter. You don't see it once it's all painted with a Mod Podge, and that's what I used, Mod Podge, to both glue and seal this. And you'll want to do a nice thin layer, even but thin layer, just enough so that it's tacky on the entire surface of the canister. And then you'll glue that piece of paper. You'll use it first to glue the paper to the tin, and then later on you'll see that I use it to seal it. And the nice thing about the Mod Podge is it's like working with a thicker Elmer's glue almost, or school glue. It's just nice and workable, so you can move things around. As you can see, I repositioned that paper a little bit. You just gently roll it around, and you don't have to worry about it completely sticking all the way, because you'll see that I use rubber bands to hold it on. And then once you get this on there, you want to just kind of run your hand over it, get all the air bubbles out, make sure that the paper is stuck to the canister all the way around. And then I just used some rubber bands to hold that on while it was drying. I let that dry for a little bit, and then I cut another strip of that paper, that scrapbook paper, but I'm going to use the contrasting side. And I just put one strip on there just to cover up that, but you could actually make this a pattern and do several of them all the way around. And you can use really napkins, fancy napkins, any kind of fancy paper that you have. Scrapbooking paper works nice for this because it's pretty heavy duty, and it was just easy to work with. So these rubber bands are just going to hold that paper down while the underneath glue coat dries. And then you'll see here soon my collection of earrings and pins and just pieces of vintage jewelry that I really like, that I've never really done anything with. So that's what I'm using to decorate this. And I'm going to take off the backs of the earrings or any jaggedy pieces that are sticking out to try to make the back of this as flat as I can when I glue it. I'm using black colored E6000 for this project and a plastic spoon. And I just cleaned off the top of the canister with an alcohol pad. You can just use alcohol on a cotton ball. And I'm using the black colored E6000 to cover up any of the top of the canister that you can see in between the pieces that I'm going to be putting on the top. That way I don't have to worry about covering every square inch of that. You'll just see black show through. And then I'm spreading it out nice and thin, making it as even as I can around the edges. It's not a perfect thing. And then also I did end up squeezing extra in the middle of the lid to help cover that up, and you can see that here I'm putting a lot down there, and I squeezed so hard that the stuff came out of the package of the E6000, so be careful with that. I'm just spreading it thin, and then I'm going to start decorating the top, and I'll speed that up for you so you can check that out and see what that looks like. So at this point, I'm pretty happy with the way that the top of this looks. I'm just kind of squishing everything together. And then I'm going to take off the rubber bands and I'm going to put the first coat of the Mod Podge on the outside to seal. And since this is going to be in my kitchen, you know, there's some moisture and grease and whatnot in your kitchen. You want to probably put at least 2 to 3 coats on here. If you wanted to put this somewhere like your bathroom, you're going to want to put maybe 4 coats just to seal it all in there really good. And then when I'm looking at the lid, I decide I don't like that blue around the rim. And I had some interior brush and leaf paint, also something that I already had and just a random brush that I had. And I'm going to paint the rim of that. And I'll speed that up for you too so you can see how that goes. I'm just putting the finishing touches on the paint here, and this project is done. It was fun. Took me probably start to finish about a half an hour, and I'm just really happy with the results here. You can see what it looked like in the end. So for this next project, you'll see how I upcycled a candle jar after I was done burning it. I cleaned it out, washed it really well, and this is really about using what you have. I have a little turtle that I had from another project, and then I got some jewelry in this little gift bag. So I'm going to cut it up and use this little bit of burlap to put on the top of the jar and make kind of an earthy, boho, maybe inspired little storage jar. And this jar could be used for so many things. I show it at the end on my counter with some candy in it, but you could use it for anything. My only caution with this is if you use a jar that had a candle in it, you don't want to put loose food in it. Like you wouldn't want to put sugar or flour or something like that in it just because you don't know if the glass is food safe. But anything in a wrapper should be fine food wise. But you can use this for all kinds of things, you know, storing bobby pins or anything that you really you need it for. And here you see I cut this round of the burlap and I'm fraying the edges. So I put Mod Podge on the top to adhere the burlap to and a little bit of E6000 in the middle where I want the turtle to go. And then I cut this little bit off the bottom of the turtle so he'll stick. And I'm just reusing something I already had. But I decided that I wanted this to be gold. It looks a little bit more earthy with it being gold. So I used that gold leaf from our other project to just fill in over that silver and make it more gold. And then little pieces of the burlap kind of got stuck in there, which made a really cool texture. So I actually added more later on. And then here I'm just positioning the turtle, making sure that he's relatively center. And then I'm pulling the parts apart and then putting them back together again. It helps the E6000 to adhere. And then I'll just do a little once over with the paint, make sure that I'm happy with it, that all the silver is covered. And then I let this dry for a while till it's completely dry, and then I can put the top on and this project will be done and you'll see the finished product at the end. But this is just a really fun, really quick project. I hate throwing those really nice candle jars away with the lids. So you can see this is a great way to reuse them. Let me know if you gather up some supplies from around your house that you have laying around and make this project or a project similar. I'd love to see the results. This last project is perfect for reusing tins that have cool graphics on them, spice tins or tea tins. You're going to clean off one side. That side is going to be facing either your refrigerator or wherever you're going to be hanging it. You're going to use a few the little really strong magnets, and you can get these either at the craft store or on Amazon or eBay. And I just use 2 because I'm going to be using an air plant in here, but if you want to use it for pens or something like that that's heavier, you could put 4. I used E6000 and let it dry really, really well. And you don't have to be too particular about how it looks on the back or if it's perfectly centered because you're not going to see that. And then you'll see how I displayed it in my kitchen, and it's just a really cool way to show off those awesome graphics. I used mine to display some air plants. You can use yours for pens, phone chargers, anything that you need to have at the ready. Let me know if you try this yourself.